Hello, and welcome to Associate Gulf Coast Staying Home and Staying Connected webinar series. My name is Alex Turner, and I am a Business Development Manager with Associa. My role is educating board members, and that's a big part of what I do. And it's actually my favorite part of the job. But during this unprecedented time, it's hard to continue to bring education to our board members. So we're doing this for you in the safety of your own home and at a time that's convenient for you. So before we get started today, I wanted to let you know that Associate Gulf Coast is the industry leader for COVID education and tools for your association. Please contact me if you need to get a link to our virtual library of materials. In addition to that, and in a much more hopeful light, we have started our Safely Restart campaign. We are educating board members on how to safely open amenities, hold in-person meetings, and work with vendors on your property. After all, upkeep and maintenance of your association is still required despite our current events. All right, so let's get to our featured speaker today. I'm so excited and pleased to have Brandon Page with Specialized Pipe Technologies, or SPT, as many of you may know them, with us today. Good morning, Brandon. I'm so happy to finally sit down with you and talk about SPT and how services can be a benefit to both our associate managers and our associate board members.
Thank you, Alex. It's a pleasure to be here with you today and looking forward to our time here.
Definitely. So tell us a little bit about SPT, Brandon.
So at SPT, we help people solve a problem that typically people encounter once or twice in their lifetime, and that is when a plumbing system in their home or high-rise building begins to fail. So our area of expertise is focused on delivering solutions to problems when pipes start to leak and break that do not require damage or a jackhammer to be used out of property in order to solve the problem. So more or less, we're here to serve in the event that you have a plumbing nightmare begin to unfold and you don't want to dig the building up or tear your house up.
Wait, so before you advance this slide, what is this picture that we're looking at? Holy moly.
So this picture, again, pictures are worth 1,000 words. To kind of sum up what I'll be briefly touching on today, this picture on the left, what you see is a section of old 4-inch cast iron pipe. And this is what cast iron pipe looks like after 25 to 30 years. Basically, on the outside rim of the pipe, which would be the pipe wall, you have the cast iron metal. But inside, you have just about everything you can think of, from rust to waste to just grease to anything that's passed that pipe over the course of the past, 25, 30, 40 years, eventually leaves a residue that can build up a lot like plaque on arteries, and on the right-hand side, we have an example of what a pipe looks like after it's been cleaned and lined. So the idea here is that you can take an old pipe, and rather than tearing it out and throwing it away, it can be cleaned and rehabilitated and basically have its lifespan doubled or tripled.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and begin if that's all right. And
yeah,
at any
let's
point
get going. For sure.
We discussed, if you have a question or a comment, please interject. I think that you will probably appreciate this first slide because it's a picture of the scenario I found myself in many times, standing next to a property manager who has found themselves basically with the scenario, there's a leak, it's inside of a wall. What we have in the background here is a section of cast iron pipe. If you look closely, you can actually see a crack in the pipe.
Oh, yeah.
And is notorious for doing this. So in Florida, we have a mixture of construction. Most buildings, because of hurricanes and whatnot, have block at some point in the building. Whether it's framed construction, we've got concrete slabs, normally concrete floors, and a lot of concrete block. So the piping that serves the building is concealed inside the walls. It's in the walls, it's in the floor. In a multi-story building, for a property manager, you think every single unit owner's space, it's their space, but their neighbors are to the left and to the right of them and potentially above them and below them. And so everyone's plumbing interconnects. And I'm sure you can share your own your own section or examples of stories where a leak that occurred on a floor up above traveled down and wound up on a floor below. So long story short, this picture, again, it kind of creates a scenario that we see a lot. To get to that pipe is just what you see. You have to remove the materials that are in the way. So if that's block or if that's drywall, if it's even more fancy materials like marble or wood, to get to that repair, it requires the wall itself to be opened. So we start here with, most of the time, again, plumbing's kind of like, not to sound morbid, but like a health complication that you had no idea was in the works. And all of a sudden, you have a scenario unfold where you don't feel good, or you have a family of loved ones, hey, my chest is tight, or I'm not feeling right. Last night, case in point, my wife, she had a migraine, and she had this thing called an aurora, where it's like you can see light. Apparently it comes with migraines. Not fun, but 24 hours before, she feels perfectly fine, and now having this weird migraine like she's never had. It's kind of the way plumbing happens. You have this scenario where water starts to show up, or there's an odor, or there's some signs of mold, and you're like, what's going on? And it kicks off maybe that there's something more serious going on.
Yeah, I totally love that picture, because that's me every time someone calls and says, there's water, but we don't know where it's coming from. That's my favorite.
That's right. This question we get a lot. I've been in the plumbing industry for, basically my adult life. And, I began to learn. I remember my first day as a helper, I guess I kind of assumed some things about plumbing, but ironically, a lot of people ask this question once they have a leak is, so where are the pipes even at? And, since you can't see them, if you've never done plumbing or construction, why would you necessarily know where they're at? Well, the short answer is they're everywhere. They're inside the walls, they're under the floors. And here's 3 pictures over the years we've gathered. This is actually a restaurant. This is a bathroom group and on a ground floor of a home. This is a condo unit. And you can see that what these pictures have in common is holes. So the plumbing is inside the walls and under the floors. Again, in a multi-story building, it's everywhere. So it's in the ceiling above, the floors below, the walls on either side, especially if you get near, a hall bathroom or kitchen. And again, this picture, it shows that if a plumbing system goes bad, the way to access it is to physically dig it up. So plumbing goes in first, news flash on new construction. That's typically what starts after there's a level pad graded as plumbing goes in the ground. This actually, believe it or not, in this restaurant, the dirt was piled up like 4 foot high. So all that dirt was what came out of the ground to get to this section of pipe that had gone bad. So just a kind of a picture showing what typically is going on when plumbing's there. So to kind of cut right to the chase, there's really 2 options when plumbing goes bad. We're specifically talking about drain lines. So the sanitary drains that serve wastewater that's removed, say, from your tub, your kitchen sink, lavatory faucets. This also includes piping that carries storm water off the roof of a building and takes it away. A lot of times those pipes are concealed inside the walls of the building as well. So the process that's kind of taken the main stage and over the last decade is a process called cured in place pipe. And basically, a real simple way to understand what this is, if you have a loved one or know of someone that's had heart complications, the wonderful news is, my grandmother, back when I was maybe like 20 years old, 20 years ago, had to have open heart surgery because at the time that was kind of the best there was for heart complications and blocked arteries and everything. Today, in a lot of instances, doctors can go in with a small incision and they can put stents in place and open arteries back up. This is essentially what is being done with all types of piping, especially now small diameter drain lines. So these pipes inside the building, like going back to our picture of the stressed out property manager, in most instances, those pipes being cracked or broken, they can be relined. So this is an example of a section of pipe that's gone bad. This is actually the bottom out of the pipe. And on the right, what that pipe would look like after it's been lined, or think of it kind of in layman's terms, it's been stented. Basically just a pipe now within the pipe.
So I'm shocked that this pipe on the left can be fixed. I mean, that's amazing. I really kind of thought there was some sort of limit, but that you guys couldn't do the lining anymore. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, believe it or not, years ago when I was in the field, we kind of have bragging rights among the guys and stuff like that. But I'm sure someone's beat this. But there was an instance we were down in South Florida where we spanned a section of pipe that was just shy of 36 inches long, meaning that the pipe had rotted out so bad it fell out in the ground. All the sewage was going into the ground under this home. Ugh. And we figured out a way to basically take a fiberglass rod, almost like a fishing pole is kind of what it looks like, on a long reel, and we were able to get this rod across this missing section of pipe. It wasn't 3 feet, it was like 32 inches. And because we could span that missing section, we were actually able to tie that rod onto a piece of liner, pull it in place, and actually span a section that was gone. So there's instances where not only can the pipe be cracked or broken, or like in this case, the pipe's missing, it can be completely no pipe. So again, what you're doing with lining is you're literally putting a new pipe within the old one. So some pretty wild stuff can be done. In most cases, this is extreme. You're not going to have half the pipe gone, but it isn't totally uncommon for something like that to happen.
Yeah.
Just fake pipe lining is like stenting an artery. We get a lot of questions on how does it work. And so basically, I'll give you 3 pictures, just a quick synopsis. The original pipe that's there has got to be cleaned. So I've got a section, if you can see my camera. This is a piece of cast iron pipe that was cut out with a chop saw, and you can see the buildup in the pipe like some of the other pictures. All this buildup has to be removed, or if a liner's put in place, it's going to conform to the shape or size of the pipe. So you can see this is obviously not round. But there's different tools that are used to clean the pipe. There's a lot of very aggressive looking, almost like medieval looking war tools now that are used to be able to insert into a pipe and to clean all the debris out. A lot of creative ways to get that debris out again without causing damage to the building. But once the pipe is cleaned, just like if you've ever decided to refinish a table or repaint your house or do work to a vehicle or something, you got to prep, right? All the hard work is in the prep. Once you've prepped the pipe, a liner can be built, which is essentially, think of a bladder with a piece of felt material that's saturated with epoxy. That felt material, there's all types of epoxies now. They constantly get better. The bladder is used to basically deliver a piece of felt liner into a section of pipe, in this case, a section that's broken, and then that bladder is inflated, again, like a stent. Mm-hmm. And once it's inflated, this bladder basically, under low volume air pressure, holds this felt material in place until the epoxy cures. So just like, I have a house full of girls, so I've watched them do their nails. It's kind of like painting fingernails, or if you've ever mixed up epoxy to patch something at home. We basically use various epoxies and felt materials that are like a sock to wet out sections of pre-measured pipe, and then put these epoxy-based stents into place.
Wow.
In the end, is that bladder then gets removed after a period of time. Traditionally, what's happened with epoxies is the cure times have gotten better, right? So they've come down. And there's actually now, if you've ever been to the dentist and had them fill a cavity or put in sealants, they'll use ultraviolet light to cure the epoxy. We've now got setups that we're experimenting with this year where we can actually cure epoxy in minutes rather than hours or a day. Wow. Using UV light. So a lot of cool technology, just like your phones and computers. It's constantly upgrading and getting better.
Brandon, before you move on, that first slide, or excuse me, the picture of the medieval tool that's cleaning it out. So is that going to get tree roots too, or does that have to be done separately?
Yeah, so again, this may sound odd. I don't know if you're handy or done craft work. Have you ever heard of a Dremel tool? It's like you can buy to do crafts. Essentially, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of different heads now used to clean pipe. Roots, there's actually heads. We have a piece of pipe in Las Vegas. I saw this, I just couldn't believe it. A contractor had driven a grounding rod, which is like a steel rod, through a pipe that was like 6 feet deep. You could look at it with a camera, and there was literally a rod stuck through the pipe. We ordered a tool from a manufacturer that is designed to grind out steel. And so we literally ran it through the pipe, ground this section of like rod, like steel rod out, cleaned off the nubs and lined it. So I mean, tree roots, easy to remove. There's heads for removing concrete. There's heads for removing liner. If a liner goes bad, you can literally cut them back out. So it's only limited by imagination right now and kind of innovation. People constantly coming up with just wild options to fix pipe.
Okay.
Yeah. So moving along, I'll give you a couple more points here to think about, and we'll close it down. A lot of different industries where pipelining is used, from obviously condo HOAs, residential. A lot of municipal systems, meaning city systems, are used for lining. Schools, restaurants. Lining has become a huge deal in hospitals and in casinos, right? Because they have high occupancy, high volume. They can't afford to, you can't move people out of a hospital, right? You can't necessarily, outside of the weird COVID time we're in, casinos, they don't shut down. They'll run 80, 90% occupancy. Retirement homes, again, lining is a great fit in some of these rehab technologies when people want to stay in place and have a minimum disruption rather than extended times where they have to leave the building. I'll leave you with some thoughts on red flags and warning signs. If drains in a building or home start to become slow to drain or gurgle, not good. Backups are signs of restrictions in the pipe. Obviously, if you have cracks or leaks, something is not right. Let's see here. We talk a lot about condo HOAs, but essentially we have various stakeholders. These are people that either manage or they live in a property. So we talk about CIPP versus conventional pipe replacement. Most of the time the cost savings is anywhere from 40 to 50% when you consider replacement cost of original pipe and remodel work. Takes roughly half the time, sometimes a little faster, sometimes a little slower, but traditionally always faster than conventional pipe replacement, which most people like. They don't want the inconvenience. And right now, the epoxies that are coming out are rated at 75 plus years. The reality is that no one knows exactly how long some of these products last because they've been just brought into creation in the last 10 or 15 years. But based on other products used in other industries, from aircraft to medicine, we know the life expectancy of a lot of epoxy-based pipes is arguably better than even PVCs and different metals. So in kind of closing here, we talked about originally this problem scenario, a crusty old pipe and a newly lined pipe. We tell people that the real benefit in pipelining is the removal of stress or lowering of stress and inconvenience. And here in Florida, we live in a beautiful place. Our goal is to get back to living life and enjoying ourselves. So that's kind of a quick synopsis on what we do. And the goal is to help serve people and make their life better when they run into plumbing problems.
Well, thanks, Brandon. I think it's a great service for boards and managers to consider when they have that problem. So let me just ask you quick follow-up questions. What areas do you service? This webinar is going to reach everywhere from just short of Orlando down to Marco Island. Do you service all of that?
Yeah, so our primary service area is Gainesville to Naples/Miami.
Okay.
So virtually the whole state. We do travel throughout the state of Florida, but we have offices actually in multiple states, mostly coastal areas. So offices in California, some in the Midwest, But in Florida, our primary area, we have consultants and technicians, in Orlando, Tampa, all of Central Florida, Miami, Naples, Marco, so all those regions.
Okay, awesome. And then as far as maybe like a preventative program, do you have something where you can come in, camera the pipes, and put together? I deal with boards that they know they have cast iron or Orangeburg piping, and they know that they're going to have to do something. Is there a way that you guys could come up with a plan and a phase repair, or is that something that you do?
Yeah, and that's a logical question, intelligent question, because it's like if you had a health complication. Our poor dog has had a cold for 2 weeks. We took him to this pet place and like a dog resort while we went out of town. And when we came back, he had a cold. I didn't know that dogs could get colds like this, but he's had one for like 2 weeks. And we're like, does he have COVID? But we've been trying to contemplate, like, do we take him to the doctor? Do we keep reading on the internet and terrifying ourselves? What do we do? And long story short, eventually, having some type of professional inspection or, consultation is a wise idea. So what we typically do is come in, we learn about people's problems and what they've been experiencing. That helps us start. And then usually through a series of inspections that are non-invasive, they're done with various types of camera equipment. The pipes can be evaluated, like getting an X-ray, or like they use cameras on the human body now. Look inside your ears and your throat, and we can kind of get a feel for the condition of the pipe. And then based on that, we can say, okay, no more guessing. You don't need to panic, or you do need to panic. And
Sure.
We can say, this is what you've got, and these are your options. What do you feel comfortable with? In a lot of instances, we have property management companies that say, we need to put together a plan for the next 2 to 5 to 10 years. And so the consultation work we typically start with is very much intended or designed to give that plan.
Okay. And then how long, and I don't know if it matters how much of a space you do, but how long typically does this pipe relining last?
So the life expectancy on pipe liner is 75 to 100 years is what industry experts say. We know that it lasts at least 21 years because that's how long we've been doing it. And the kind of goal that we set out for, and really we kind of maintain, is let's double the useful life of the pipe. So if you have a system that's 25 years, 40, 50 years old, the goal that we're having is let's leave it in place and get another 25, 30, 40 years out of it. You can kind of maybe validate this as a manager, as being involved with properties. Most buildings in Florida are in this range of 30 to 50 years. At some point, like if you go and look down in Miami or you go to the New England states, when buildings start getting to like the 60, 70-year mark, they start doing massive remodels, just as a general rule, right? Florida's kind of warming up to that. We've got all this, the building boom that happened here happened in like the 60s and 70s. And so what we've been trying to help people do is when they're not ready to do a building renovation, they don't have $10 million or $20 million to do this big, facelift or what they call a refresh. Lining helps to kind of extend the lifespan to help people get there. That's one of the big pushes that we get a request for right now, is like, we know we have to do this, but we're just not ready. So it's a cost savings thing, helping people get to a future point when they're going to do maybe it's some kind of major remodel.
All right, very cool. Well, I thank you so much for your time today, Brandon. Again, like I said, I think this is a really great service that I think boards and managers need to know about and know what their options are. So I thank you for telling us today. And I appreciate it. And I hope we get to see you out and about eventually soon in person.
Yeah, that's right. And someday we get to take our masks off. It'll be like...
It's constantly me just running back to my car to get my mask that I left there.
I do the same thing. I'll get out. I went to Walgreens yesterday. I got out. I was like, oh. I turn around, walk back, get my mask. You walk in and everyone looks at you like, oh, picker.
I'm
Oh, no.
definitely getting my 10,000 steps in finding my mask every day. Thanks again so much. We appreciate you, and we hope you have a great day. And to everybody who's watched, we thank you for your time, and we hope that this has helped you. And when you have a problem, a leak, that this may work for you and your association. So thanks so much, and have a great day.
Thank you.